of the most important and talked about topic in the ecosystem of education and skill, that is National Education Policy 2020. Many say it's revolutionary, groundbreaking, and some say it is as good as it is implemented. So we shall hear it from some of the leaders in education with decades of experience, more than 30 years of experience, who will be joining us for this session. And do the honors, we have Professor H. Venkateswarlu, Vice Chancellor, Central University of Kerala. A round of applause, sir. Please join us on the dais. And representing the state of Karnataka, which is on the forefront and is the first state to be proactive in implementing the National Education Policy, Karnataka, we have Professor B. Thimme Gowda, sir, Vice Chairman, Karnataka State Higher Education Council, Government of Karnataka. He was also the Vice Chancellor for earlier government universities, more than 2 universities, I'm sure. A round of applause for our very senior leader from the education. And we also have yet another senior academician, a leader in the field of education, the Vice Chancellor for Bangalore Central University, Professor Lingaraju. A round of applause for Mr. Gandhi. And again from Kerala, we have Dr. P. Sojan, Principal MBITS Group of Institution, Kerala. Please join us on the dais, sir. And on the technology front, we have a young, he was an educationist, now he's into the EdTech space. Please join me in welcoming Shazil Ahmed, Vice President with CollPoll. A round of applause for this young emerging leader in the EdTech space. So he will be giving out the technical side of the National Education Policy 2020. Yeah. So I would request Professor H. Venkateswarlu, sir, it's over to you now.
Good afternoon to all the ladies and gentlemen here and all the co-panelists. I think it has been a wonderful time for me since morning. I placed myself here without going anywhere. I was listening to all the presentations made by different personalities from different institutions. And indeed it's a great experience for me. As a person coming from a state university, I worked in a state university for 40 years in Usmania University, Hyderabad. And I joined the Central University of Kerala as the leader, as the Vice Chancellor in 2020. And we have been aware of the educational system across the 4 decades, the complications, implications, challenges, opportunities, and the changes. And it's very interesting in the last 2 or 3 years across the country that thanks maybe to the government of India, that we have recognized, if you want to develop the country, it is education. This is where probably the whole country has to work. Though I prepared for a very lengthy presentation of about 15 minutes, I do not like to. But maybe at the right time, after 3 or 4 decades, after different policies, after the huge experiencing, a policy has come out. So I would like to confine to, and it's a great happy moment for all of us educationists in the country that we are together discussing about what should happen to the education and what should be the tenets and what should be the strategies to make the nation more powerful. And particularly, let me tell you, just on 6th and 7th, very recently of June, a conference was held by none other than the Honorable President of India. We all attended. Some of us are online, some of us are offline. All Central University Vice Chancellors and all IIT directors and IIM directors were present. And the whole discussion was on the theme that we have. But one interesting thing I would like to congratulate Indie Globe. The very interesting thing I would like to openly acknowledge is the mix of the participants. Whenever there is a conference, the conference has only one. But here what I have seen today is the mix of participants where you have some 4 or 5 different types of, there are administrators, there are vice chancellors, there are private universities, there are principals of educational institutions, there are companies also, different types of companies. Actually this comprises the whole educational ecosystem which needs to think about what should happen to the national education policy. That's where I think the IndiGlobe has done its job very well. Please give a big hand for the IndiGlobe company. It's a wonderful thing they've done. Then my time is very limited. We go on speaking. Basically I'm a professor. We have, very interestingly, we have 4 eminent speakers, particularly one of them is Professor Thimme Gowda, who has been the Vice Chancellor of Bangalore University and also now heading the State Council of Higher Education of Karnataka, a state like Karnataka, and most importantly, it is the lead state that has implemented NEP 2020 already. So he is the person who has implemented, a person is sitting with us, and we would be requesting him. Then we have Lingaraju, Gandhi and Sojan and Shazil, Ahmed, all of them. So I would like to have a little time planning for this session. We'll have in all about 40 minutes of time, and each speaker will take about 5 to 6 minutes. So 6 into 4, about 25 minutes maximum. Then it would be very nice that if we can have an interactive session kind of a thing, because it's a post-run session, and then we would like to wind up. Then 1 or 2 points I would like to say. We have been convinced what is NEP, all around we have been talking about, but in Kerala there is little resistance. Recently I was in Tamil Nadu, there was a little resistance. Governor also was there when we were there. And then we said, why they are asking? Is there anything multilingual problem? Is there anything insistence? We are saying the NEP 2020 is a vision policy. It has a simple goal of making the human capacity a little better. And it is what it is suggesting is some only 2 or 3 things which I do not need to make a statement on what is NEP 2020, because this is one. Second thing, what all educational institutions and education is, what you have to understand is, it has come to stay, and already UGC has rolled out the many guidelines with regard to NEP 2020. Now what you need to do is just adopt the guidelines, like multiple entry, multiple exit. The guidelines have been rolled out. Academic Bank of Credit, that Central University of Kerala, we have already, many universities also we have already taken up. Multidisciplinary we have taken up. Now just now Anurag has done a wonderful presentation, that internship embedded program that we have already done. In fact, coming next year itself, the coming July, the first year students of post-graduation of Central University in Kerala, they will have a multiple entry and multiple exit. So it has come to stay. Then what are the challenges and all these things I think our speakers would talk about, because 1 or 2 things I would like to say. Restructuring is a major challenge because we have a diversity and also the vastness. If you take an institution like Bangalore University, it is already split into 3, but vastness of institutions, affiliations, I am aware of what kind of divergence exists among degree colleges. I don't think you are all aware, as myself and Thimme Gowda, we are aware of the divergence in degree colleges that we face as a university leader. So these things are definitely challenges. The diversity is a challenge, the vastness is a challenge, the access is a challenge. In fact, the mindset of both the student and as well as parent is also a challenge. So there are so many socio-economic and also academic challenges are there. They need to be structural challenges, they need to be, but at the same time, we have to look at what are the opportunities. As one session was very interesting, I wanted to participate. The digitization, that is digitization has come into, and already we would be going into, there is no going back on digitization. A part of the educational system invariably has gone into digitization. We cannot escape from it. Students will not accept if you are non-digital. That is the stage where we have to. So these are all the changes. I am sure the speakers would like to throw on some light, and we would like to confine on, as given by the challenges, roadmap, and then integration. Integration not in regional education, but integration of the NEP 2020 higher education in different streams. That is a challenge. NEP 2020, how do you integrate it with medical education? That's a huge challenge. NEP 2020 education, NEP 2020 with, let us say, a subject Malayalam, a subject like Kannada, a subject like, we are all now segmented into different departments. Now, how are you going to bring them together, bring them into schools, and what kind of thing that we'll do? So these are all the challenges. I now request Professor Thimme Gowda to come up with his presentation. Thank you very much for listening to me. Maybe towards the end, I will come for another 2-3 minutes, but we'll have some good interactive session of about 5 to 8 minutes towards the end. But I request the speakers to be confined to only 5 to 6 minutes. Thank you.
Namaste, good afternoon. Higher education leaders, Sudhir Gautam, and industrial experts, and delegates. I am extremely happy to be part of this interaction session. I congratulate Sudhir Gautam for bringing together on a single platform the education leaders, the industrial experts, and other interested parties to interact with each other, understand each other's problems, how to come around to deliver whatever that is relevant to the present day youth. And for paucity of funds, I cannot go into, of course, paucity of funds in implementing NEP. I'm fully aware of it. I do not go into the details of it. I have prepared a very detailed document how we have implemented NEP 2020 in Karnataka and what are the challenges of it. As you all know, NEP envisages transformational changes on all aspects of education, be it the governance, regulation, curriculum, pedagogy, assessment, and all these things. Therefore, we have started working on it well before NEP was accepted in July 2020. Our government constituted a task force in March 2020 itself to work out the implementation plan in Karnataka. Therefore, the moment it was accepted, the job started, we started working. We submitted our report in November 2020, and then December, the government of Karnataka accepted the report and asked us to implement it. Then we went through all these things. I headed a subcommittee on curriculum reforms in higher education. We had produced a document. Then we constituted 8 faculty-wise committees to work out their program structures in various faculties, engineering, general commerce, education, etc. And then we constituted about over 40 subject committees for curriculum design and to draft the curriculum contents. That is to just draft the modular curricular structure and then model curriculum content. Then it was passed on to all the universities in Karnataka, including private, public and autonomous colleges. They were free to change, modify and adapt it, but keeping in mind credit transfer and mobility of the graduates. Therefore, the core structure part, they are to keep more or less the same. What was the curricular structure that we have produced? That was, we kept in mind, the knowledge, skills and internship or apprenticeship, or put it in general, experiential learning and the research component. That part, that model structure, we have formulated it in consultation with all the experts and the vice chancellors, and it was circulated among all the universities, again giving the freedom to with suitable changes to adopt it. And then we have given the curriculum content part also. And that is about even the assess pedagogy part also, anyway there will be transformational change, the participatory learning part. And then what are the challenges part of it in implementing it? As I have already uttered, the paucity of funds, that is the difficult part of it. Therefore, in order to effectively implement NEP, therefore as suggested in NEP, the Government of India has to spend a minimum of 6% of GDP on education. Then only we can meaningfully, effectively implement the NEP 2020. What are the other challenges? Among the faculty themselves, the mindset changing. You know, the faculty are the art of learning. Therefore, it is very difficult to change the mindset. Therefore, that is the difficult part. Therefore, the FDP, faculty development plan, not only youngsters, they can immediately change. It is difficult to change people like me of around 70 years old. Okay? Unless we change our mindset, we have to undergo the lifelong learning. Okay? We have to treat ourselves as students of a subject, not experts in a subject. That type of mindset that we have to do it. And we have also produced model acts. In Karnataka, we have separate acts for each private universities. And we have common university act for some of the general universities. We have separate universities. There was a committee on it. I also part of the member, the Padma Vibhushan Vasudeva Atre, who was the defense secretary. He was the chairman of the committee. We have produced 2 acts, one governing all public higher educational institutions, the other governing all private higher educational institutions. We have submitted the report. Probably the government of Karnataka may put it to public domain and to get the feedback, comments and suggestions. Once it is done, they go through the legislation and amend it. He is also contemplating, it is thinking about it, but we have already produced a model, submitted a model to the government, Karnataka Shikshana Ayoga. It would be headed by the Chief Minister of the state and with the 2 vice chairpersons, one from school education, the other from higher education part. Therefore, that would coordinate school and higher education. And again, the higher education is distributed among various departments. We have health university under medical education, agricultural university in the agriculture department, we have veterinary university, we have RDPR university, etc. Therefore, this coordination has to be done. That how somehow can be coordinated, that can be effectively implemented. The most difficult part of implementation would be the restructuring of higher education institutions. We have all sorts of higher education institutions, public university, private university, deemed to be university, autonomous colleges, etc. Therefore, they are to be grouped into, as you all know, 3 categories of institutions: research-intensive universities, which give equal emphasis on teaching and research; teaching-intensive universities, whose emphasis would be teaching, but at the same time conduct significant research. The 3rd category of institutions would be degree-granting autonomous colleges, whose principal emphasis would be undergraduate, 4 years undergraduate teaching, but they are not prevented from conducting the postgraduate studies and research. Therefore, this has to be done. How easy to do it? That they have also given the deadline. By 2035, we have to discontinue this affiliation system. We have to have only 3 categories of institutions, which means, you see, when I was Vice Chancellor of undivided Bangalore University, we had 750 colleges under us, the Bangalore University, undivided Bangalore University. Under that, we had 150 colleges which had student strength less than 150, because those colleges, affiliated colleges, came into being for other reasons, for non-academic reasons, to become study centers of open universities. It would have been very easy for them to become study centers. Then now what it says, one has to, our present existing higher education institutions become at least degree granting autonomous colleges. There is no hard barrier on fulfilling the requirements. They can change over from degree granted autonomous to teaching intensive university, research intensive university. That is again has to be set by either the, there will be Higher Education Commission of India, National Higher Education Council, Regulatory Council for Regulation, National Accreditation Council for Accreditation, Higher Education Grants Council for granting, and there will be General Education Council which deals with all regulatory councils. Once it sets benchmarks, which one you call it as research intensive university, which one as teaching intensity or degree granting autonomous college. To become a degree granting autonomous colleges, it has to have it should be multidisciplinary, it should have a student strength of a minimum of 3,000, they have reduced it to 5 to 3,000, and then it has to have an ACK rating, maybe at least A grade. Then it should achieve excellence in teaching and research. If they fulfill these situations, then only they can at least get upgraded into degree granting autonomous college. What happens if it doesn't happen? In the case of government colleges, there is no problem. They can become quickly constituent colleges of the university, government colleges. What about private colleges with diversity from different trusts, etc.? That would be a difficult task. Then how do you, big fish will swallow smaller fish, there will be integration and the clustering of universities, all these things would come into picture. I was also listening to the experts, the private universities in Karnataka in the previous session, especially from JSS University and the Jain University and also RV University, how they have integrated skill, etc. and earn while you learn. This concept was introduced in 70s, 1970 plus in Mysore University itself, they were providing. That concept anyway is all the more relevant now. They have explained the successful stories. The successful implementation rests with our education leaders, our vice chancellors, the principals of autonomous colleges, etc. Therefore, the whole thing depends on how you finance them, how you recruit the faculty, how you train them, how you reorient them. It is a very difficult task, although it is not impossible. Therefore, probably for paucity of time, let me not go into the details. I can speak on this hours together. Therefore, if you have questions, probably during the interaction session, I can answer some of the questions. Thank you for the opportunity.
Somebody from the organization, Professor Lingaraju, say 1 or 2 points about transformation, restructuring and finances are the 3 important points raised by Professor Thimme Gowda. I request the speakers to confine only to 5 minutes, please.
Well, I am Professor Lingaraju Gandhi, the Vice Chancellor of Bangalore City University. It's a state public university. Established 4 years ago, bifurcated from Bangalore University. The university has implemented NEP 2020 in the faculties of arts, commerce and management and science from the academic year. The challenges of implementation, Professor Thimme Gowda did talk about it, how the entire state and especially Karnataka State Higher Education Council guided the implementation and prepared the implementation strategy. So there was a state level committee, faculty wise committee, then subject wise committees which provided the framework, curriculum framework, model curriculum framework for the universities. And subsequently, the government of Karnataka issued the orders on 7th August 2020 for implementation. The regulations were framed. First, regulations had to be framed. Only after the regulation, the curriculum has to be designed. So the regulations were also, the model regulations for NEP 2020 were also framed by the KSHEC, and then the universities adopted it. And the real challenge, as Professor Thimme Gowda did mention, is to address the mindset. We were used to a particular system and creating awareness and conducting orientation programs regarding NEP 2020. NEP 2020 is a student-centric education system with a due focus on multidisciplinary education and with multiple entry exit system. And most colleges have single discipline programs. the education has to be multidisciplinary and the students have the freedom to choose and freedom to change. There are a lot of flexibility. They can choose the discipline and they can change the discipline, come back after a year or 2 or 3 as per ABC, Academic Bank of Credit. Now, there are colleges, for instance, we have 245 colleges affiliated to Bangalore Central University. About 70 colleges run single program, commerce and management. If a student wants to study a subject in science or in social science and they have no freedom, and core spirit of NEP is freedom, mobility, choice, flexibility and the open electives. These were the challenges. Then now we are insisting the colleges to open more discipline. So BA, BSc, BCom, BBA, only then this purpose will be really fulfilled. And multidisciplinarity is again a challenge for colleges. Opening so many disciplines, so many programs may not be viable financially and academically. There is a new regulation by UGC that the partnership system, cluster system, suppose a college has only BCom program or BSc program, it can partner with another college where the students can be sent or the teachers from that college can come and teach. So therefore, the multidisciplinary education purpose can be fulfilled. And this is a real challenge. And again, the education system which is truly transformative and path-breaking. And this transformation has to happen at 3 important levels: curriculum design, pedagogy, and assessment. And again, when we talk about assessment and curriculum design, so much focus is given for experiential learning or hands-on learning, real-time learning. Credit system, assessment pattern, 50% will be formative assessment, continuous assessment, 50% for summative assessment. And again, these are the issues, how the 50% of the marks assessment can be done. So earlier practice was only test, assignments. Now, for the 50% assessment in practical subjects and 40% in non-practical subjects. These are some of the challenges where we need to orient, educate, provide information, and it's the training and orientation are very important in the implementation of NEP 2020. Thank you.
Now I would request Dr. Sojan Lal. He's coming from engineering institution. I request you, same sir, please come back to find. Please touch upon the implications and policy issues, that would be better. Because all the operational issues are already known to us. And 1 or 2 cases, if you can present, in fact that would be more, and they could be our takeaways. You know, there are so many different institutions are there. If we can cite one example also, that would be great if we can take. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to all the ladies and gentlemen. First of all, my sincere thanks to Sudhir and the team for bringing us such a wonderful platform with all our different stakeholders are all here. So let me start with, as Professor Venkateswarlu said, let me recall my memories back to 2017, where Smart India Hackathon was started and more than 6,000 institutions were participated. And I am from the MBITS Engineering College, and there were 2 institutions were approved by among the 26 nodal centers across India. And we are one among the 2 institutions from Kerala. That's where we started. And sir, coming to this particular point about the NEP, I would like to address that the multidisciplinary approach was started and the projects we started learning from there. In 2019, though we have started the college only in 2009, very younger college, we are the winners in the Reva University here in the Bangalore in 2019, and we got 1 lakh rupees cash award from the Smart India Hackathon. That is a victory for us. And again, we continued the journey in the next year also. So we got the second year also as a Smart India Hackathon victory. There we noticed that interdisciplinary projects realization was the real motto of that. And all that lot of IITs, NITs are all competing. And the basic fundamental reason, I would say that ours is a very poor background, students are there, and the investment had a very little, but all they have to do from the scratch, they made everything by themselves. And whenever the questions have come, the judges were asked to do different questions and also they were very successful. That's a very simple thing. Now I'd like to call upon this COVID situation where everybody knows about that. And again, we don't have such a huge infrastructure to cater for the, from the companies, like we cannot afford to have it. So we need to make our own programs like that. And again, COVID is going to come and going to shut down the college. So we formed a committee called E4IC, which is Education 4.0 Implementation Committee, by taking the assistant professors and the junior staff members. And we are very successful in creating a small learning management system with no infrastructure investment by using the Google free products. That's what I wanted to say. So again, coming to the point of even PhD induction programs, examinations, all things were done during that program. Even learning outside the classroom, LOC, was conducted very effectively. And also we are partnered with the Government of Kerala in the Water Source Department for conducting the DPR preparation online, and again offline programs were also there. And fortunately I was the moderator for that program also. So a number of programs have been happened. And now the point is that the COVID has taken all of us, students, faculty members, parents, all stakeholders, that the dramatic change, whatever is happening, is absorbed among us. Now the restructuring will be, I am sure that it will be much easier. Now only one question I would like to put forward. Now the regional language. Now we also have the export manpower to abroad countries. So when it comes to, if you start teaching in Malayalam, in engineering, if they go abroad to various countries, how it will be reflected? That's a question for all of you also. I cannot have the answer also. So with this conclusion, thank you very much for once again for the opportunity and wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
No, actually, let us all be clear that NEP is not insisting on regional. You can encourage, it is a multilingual strategy, and then first you encourage Telugu or Malayalam or Kannada or Hindi. It is your own mother tongue from the school days. And then you can have one more language. So never there is an insistence. I don't know how it is wrongly, particularly only 2 states have taken. Encouraging is there, like, yesterday somebody was telling, like China event, the whole, at a very high level of professional, academic professional was speaking only Chinese, and the whole instrument was there only for translation, and it was a high impact factor journal, he was making a presentation. All of us know, you want to express very effectively, immediately you switch over to your mother tongue, whether it is quick or reactive, whatever. So then, let me be very clear that it is not insisting on this language only. It is encouraging, yes, regional language. But anyway, we have our last speaker, he is an administrator, and he combines 2 qualities and a very young panelist. I request him to take 3-4 minutes, because we will allow a few questions, 3 questions I will allow from the audience, so that interaction would be more better. Please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Ladies and gentlemen, actually the section which is dedicated to technology in NEP, section 23, I think I've spoken before on this dais about it, right? The section is how much time I've been given over here, right? There's a lot of many sections on policies, the challenges, the implementation. There's only one section on technology integration in education. Right? The section 23 of NEP talks very extensively about the role of technology going forward in the higher education ecosystem. Right? So there is, NEP, what it's trying to say is that it uses the word extensive use of technology. It says extensive use of technology for what? Are we going to replace teachers? No, actually nothing can replace teachers. The human element will always be there. What happens is that the technology comes in between, it becomes the bridge, right? And it amplifies the learning experience of the student. And it gives a lot of time to the teachers to do more of the research and prepare themselves. Right? In the NEP, it talks about creating a system for teaching, learning, and evaluation. It also talks about supporting teacher preparation. See, this is a very important aspect. Right? We give the curriculum to the teacher, we say you go and teach. Right? What about the course plan? What about the different sessions they have to bring in? What about the resources they will be sharing? See, there's a pedagogy involved over here, right? So NEP, when our Honorable Prime Minister announced it, he said NEP is a paradigm shift. Right? This paradigm word was new to me that time. I had not heard about this before. Right? So the paradigm, the word means a complete transformation from one system into another. So that is what NEP is doing. Right? Over here we are coming up with pedagogies. Recently in the review of NEP, in the month of April, the Honorable Prime Minister mentioned that blended learning is a way forward. Don't put too much of technology on children. It has to be a good, immersive and interactive experience. So what happens is that we sometimes confuse an LMS to be a tool where we share just documents. Right? So we have Moodles where we have learning management system where there is a content which is being pushed from one place to another. Right? What about creating that learning environment for students? Replicating the entire classroom experience onto a platform. See, that is what is required. An interactive learning environment is what that is required, where the students can come and they feel that the system what they are using, let's say on a mobile first. So since I represent CollPoll, I'll talk about it. So what we have done in CollPoll, we have created an interactive learning environment where the students feel that everything which is there in his campus, right? Everything that is happening in this campus, he can see in his mobile system. Right? And the NEP actually prophesizes that. And NEP says that you should do this in order to become multidisciplinary, make students more skilled, make, give more time to the teachers. Right? I think I have a little more time, sir. So NEP also talks about enhancing, bridging the digital divide. Right? So before 2020, the world was different. After 2020, we have a new world, and there is a new world order which is coming, where we have, technology which people have understood and people have started adopting. And now we have to work towards a continuous learning, where sir spoke about formative and summative. That is the way forward. See, those internal, external, just the test, remembering from memory, all that is gone day. Now we have an outcome-based education which is learning. But how do you measure it? That is a challenge. See, for example, when we talk about your CBCS, right, a choice-based credit system, you talk about multiple entry, multiple exits. These things really sound good on the paper. How do you actually execute it on the paper? The point I'm trying to make is you don't execute it on the paper. You need a good technological support in order to do it. So if you have technology, your pedagogy, and if you have your skill, your team together, we will bring in a system that can actually enhance this particular mode. Right? You will become multidisciplinary. You can, apply your choice-based credit system. You can apply your multiple entry, multiple exit. You can define your open electives and electives, everything. And all that is happening at the system. Last but not the least, I would want to mention how technology, right, which is again where NEP is saying extensive technology, how it is saving teachers' time. See, I was having a conversation with our gentleman from NAC. Sir was mentioning that there's a lot of time of teachers which goes in documentation. So if a Vice Chancellor has to review what is happening with respect to his NAC accreditation, he has to see 20 files. Why would he have to do that? So what we do is, as technology enablers, we bring a single point dashboard. We say that everything you can track over here, all your data is flowing automatically. Where teachers take 20 days, 30 days to evaluate one class's paper, we can enable teachers to do it within span of hours, right? And generating the sum of grades, best of grades. These are all headache things for teachers. I mean, we have to accept it because we give it on paper. I mean, how would the teacher do it? They would take a lot of time. Last but not the least, I want to mention that in case if I have to collect fees from 10,000 students, right? Adding 10 more accountants doesn't solve the problem, right? Giving them one system where 10,000 people can access remotely will solve the problem. So that is what NEP prophesizes: extensive use of technology to solve real world problem and also increase the gross enrollment ratio by enabling open and online resources. So thank you very much for giving me time.
Thank you very much for the, before I take one or two points, in a sense, the NEP 2020, there is a qualification and an outcome-based approach. Earlier, we thinking towards degrees, it was not that. What does the degree should result in? One, knowledge, exhibition, transfer. It was there earlier, knowledge, exhibition and transfer. The latest part of NEP is talking about application of knowledge. Now this is in a sense what NEP 2020, so many very sharp time panelists. I'm thankful to all our panel members. Please give them a big hand. To all the panel members, we are concluding the session luckily almost on time. I thank the organizers for giving this wonderful opportunity. Any one question? At least one question if any.
Any questions in the audience? Yeah, please.
Later we can give our emails with the organizers. You can send emails also, please.
Yes.
Good afternoon everybody. I am Dr. Chandrasekhar, representing an engineering institution here in Bangalore. My question to Professor Thimme Gowda sir. Sir, in engineering education, when this NEP is implemented right now, it's going on, and first year is almost about to complete. I have two simple questions to you. First question is, for a self-financed engineering institution, where if you allow multiple entry and multiple exit, for example, if student enters the portal of engineering, after completing first year, if he leaves, what about the fees for the next 3 years for a self-financing engineering institution? Second question is, how the industry would look into the candidate or a student who leaves the portal after completing first year itself, whatever the reasons may be. Because in the present scenario, student who completes 4 years, they themselves are finding it difficult to getting a job. But for a student who completes just 1 year and leaves the portal, how the industry will look into it. Thank you, sir.
As far as engineering education is concerned, NEP has not yet been completely applied. Whatever the engineering education that we have implemented would be based on 2018 AICTE guidelines. Therefore, you know, engineering education, degree education is governed by Washington Accord, whereas the diploma education is governed by the Sydney Accord. Therefore, I put the same question to the AICTE chairperson. How do you go about this exit option in engineering and diploma? The diploma they enter after 10th standard, enter degree after 12th standard. Is there any move from AICTE to integrate engineering degree education and diploma education so that the diploma is offered as exit option of the engineering program so that the existing polytechnics can be upgraded into engineering colleges? He had no answer. We have to think about it, then only we can. Therefore, the exit option for first and second year, as of now, no. There are no exit options in 4 years professional education. Things are to be formulated at the national level. Therefore, you need not have to worry about it. Otherwise, it has no meaning. Only after 3 years, 2 years, if you give diploma, then there is already diploma. There will be contradictions. They are governed by different accords. Therefore, unless an integration of these two take place, you cannot allow exit option in professional education. It is only in general education it has happened. Let us see how things take shape at the national level. Then only we will think about it. I hope I have answered the question. Yeah.
Thank you.
We are also thinking about it. Our emphasis now would be to concentrate on teacher education, because there will be 4 years integrated teacher education, 2 years for 3 years degree holders, 1 year for postgraduates and 4 years degree holders. All these things, because there are 4 levels of school education. Therefore, foundation, preparatory, middle and secondary. Therefore, to get better output, then you have to have school education, you have to make it. You have to build it. In order to do that, we have to have teachers. Therefore, by 2030, they say the minimum qualification for a teacher, even at the kindergarten level, is 4 years integrated degree. Therefore, this is possible only when higher education takes up the teacher education seriously, prepare better teachers. Okay, then we have to think of professional education. We must also think of integration of general education, vocational education into general education. Very long way to go. Whatever we have started, we have just started it now. Very long way to go to achieve complete objectives of the NEP. We have just started linking.
Thank you so much for the wonderful and in detail discussion. I think many new concepts, that queries that were deep within us has come out, and if there are more, we can connect with these leaders who are into NEP very much.